There are so many movies with good or average ratings that you could watch for a lifetime even if you watched a couple per day. That's why there's usually no point in going below a 6, let alone a 5. Or at least that was the case before you turned on this video. At the very bottom of the ratings, you'll find movies with incredibly cliché and bizarre scripts, terrible acting, cheap special effects, and amateurish directing. Sometimes they are so bad that they become unintentionally great. My list includes almost no comedies, but if you want to have a good laugh, any of these films are much safer bet than even the best Oscar-winning comedy. Get ready for second-hand embarrassment, because today we're talking about movies that are famous for being absolutely awful. Samurai Cop, IMDb rating 4.6. Los Angeles police officer Joe Marshall is not only a master of menacing grins, but also of martial arts and even the katana, which comes in handy since he's hunting down the Japanese mafia, or maybe they're hunting him. The plot is so primitive that it's hard to tell. His partner Frank Washington has a similarly impressive skill set, funny facial expressions, and a big revolver. Between high-speed chases at a blistering 5 miles per hour and the fight scenes that look like they were choreographed by two kids playing in the backyard, Samurai seduces every woman he meets. He even managed to flirt while threatening the main villain.
Who are you?
I'm a cop. See you around.
Naturally, he's successful. How could he not be when he looks so cool in his swim trunks? One of the film's biggest pleasures comes from the cheesy one-liners thrown around by all the characters.
If he's a samurai, what the hell are you?
I'll get to know him.
Even though the movie takes itself seriously, it ends up being an excellent parody of 80s action flicks. Howard the Duck, IMDb rating 4.8. Long before the Avengers, another Marvel character attempted to conquer the big screen, Howard the Duck. He lived peacefully on his duck planet, which is exactly like ours, except everyone is a bird, until he gets sucked into our world by a laser. Howard isn't a superhero, just a regular marketing professional. However, he claims to be skilled in quack fu. On Earth, he not only runs into trouble with aggressive punks, but also finds a romance with a rock band singer who even kissed him on his beak. Things escalate when an attempt to send Howard back home, scientists accidentally summon the Dark Overlord, a true supervillain who possesses telekinesis, shoots fire from his eyes, and charges himself using an electrical tentacle plugged into a car cigarette lighter. In the end, Howard and his friends prevent the Dark Overlord from summoning his fellow monsters to Earth, and as a happy ending, Howard's girlfriend even makes him the lead guitarist in her rock band. While the movie was marketed as a comedy, it's clear that the audience was meant to laugh at Howard's jokes, not at everything else, including his absurdly expensive duck costume. Troll 2, IMDb rating 3. A grandpa reads his grandson a scary bedtime story about goblins in cheap Halloween masks. Yes, goblins, not trolls. The word troll isn't mentioned in the film at all. The story goes that goblins can disguise themselves as humans, and if they trick you into eating their mysterious green food, you'll turn into a plant and then they'll eat you. Later we find out that Grandpa is either a ghost or a figment of the kid's imagination, because he actually died 6 months ago. For some reason, the boy's family decides to go on a month-long retreat to a town called Nilbog. And yes, if you read it backward, it spells goblin. The town is overrun with goblins disguised as humans, and they invite the family to a welcoming feast where all the food is made of that same mysterious green goo. No one seems suspicious, but luckily Grandpa Ghost appears just in time to freeze time, so the boy can pee all over the family's meal to save them. Meanwhile, goblins lure other people into town, and the film builds toward the final battle, where thanks to Grandpa Ghost shooting lightning from beyond the grave, the kid defeats goblins by eating a bologna sandwich. But the goblins aren't done. When the family returns home, they eat the boy's mother while she's showering, leading to the film's infamous final horror movie Scream. Snakes on a Plane, IMDb rating 5.5. The next film isn't as disastrous as the others on my list, but I included it because of its insanely cool and simultaneously ridiculous idea. The main character, Sean, witnesses a murder, and Agent Flynn must escort him on a plane to testify. But the criminals can't let it happen, and they choose the most obvious way to get rid of him. They release dozens of venomous snakes on board. And to make sure that the snakes go berserk, they spray some pheromones on the flowers. At the appointed moment, the crate opens and the snakes spread across the plane, biting passengers and even chewing through critical flight controls. Naturally, their first target is the bathrooms, leading to one of the most horrifying scenes for the male audience. A snake bites a passenger right in the most sensitive area. I won't show you, but trust me, it looks pretty realistic. Most of the movie consists of fighting of snakes, while the number of survivors rapidly decreases, including both pilots. But then Flynn comes up with a great plan. He shoots holes in the airplane so that the compression sucks all the snakes out. Then, with the help of a guy who has only ever played flight simulators, they land the plane safely. One last snake managed to attack Sean, but Flynn shoots it at point-blank range, eliminating the final threat. Don't worry, he was wearing a bulletproof vest. And for dessert, we finally learn how the criminals managed to smuggle the snakes on board. They distracted security with cleavage. Maybe the producers used the same trick to sell the script to the studio. Plan 9 from the Outer Space, IMDb rating 3.9. Before talking about this masterpiece, let's clarify one thing. If you think that in 1957 it was normal to make movies like this, you're wrong. The same year Hollywood released classics like 12 Angry Men. So, what do we get in Plan 9 from the Outer Space? Aliens arrive on Earth in toy-like flying saucers and resurrect a handful of zombies. I won't criticize the actors for how they played The Walking Dead, since to be fair I've never seen a real zombie and I can't judge their accuracy, but what I can critique are the set designs. If you turn the movie in the middle, you'd never guess that this tiny square-shaped room is supposed to be inside a spaceship. And the airplane scenes, the only way you know it's a plane is because they put a cardboard steering wheel in front of the actors and hung a bathroom shower curtain in the background. But the biggest gem of this film is the vampire who always hides his face. Why? Because the horror icon Bela Lugosi, who was originally cast in the role, died mid-production. Instead of replacing him properly, they hired a completely different guy with a vaguely similar hair and just had him cover his face with a cape the entire time. But despite everything, the movie has one surprisingly wise moment. In the final confrontation, when the detectives storm the alien spaceship, it turns out the aliens had noble intentions all along. They weren't here to conquer Earth, but to stop humanity's arms race, which according to them threatens the entire universe. So Plan 9 is not just a train wreck, it's also a very ambitious train wreck. Miami Connection, IMDb rating 5.6. A group of 30-year-old college students plays their rock hit Against the Ninja at a Miami club. One of them is dating the lead singer, but her bearded brother, who happens to be the leader of a local gang, is not happy about it. But that's not the worst part, he has another brother who is even more dangerous. He is the leader of a glamorous gang of biker ninjas. Apparently he's her brother too, maybe they're half-siblings? I don't know. The gang warns the band to leave the town, but the musicians fight back because, surprise, they are also taekwondo masters. One of them even has a deadly foot grip move. Several gang fights ensue, and eventually the bearded brother is killed. Naturally, the biker ninja brother must avenge him, leading to a final showdown in what looks like a jungle. The musicians turned fighters chop off ninja limbs left and right, showing off both their martial arts skills and the seemingly endless supply of ketchup. This film has everything: martial arts, rock music, beach parties, and a variety of villains to suit any taste. An absolute must-watch. Rumpelstiltskin, IMDb rating 4.5. The film opens in some ancient time period where an evil gnome has kidnapped a baby from a peasant family and plans to do something terrible to it. Thankfully, a kind-hearted witch turns him into a giant fossilized tart and throws him into the sea. Fast forward to the modern times, where the recently widowed Mother Shelley visits an antique shop that is, according to the owner, permanently closed. Despite this, she somehow managed to buy a strange stone relic, which as we know is actually Rumpelstiltskin petrified poop form. The item is supposedly magical, so Shelley wishes for her dead husband to see their child. A tear falls onto the relic, and suddenly her husband materializes in front of her, leading to an emotional reunion. Next morning, Shelley gets into the shower, hoping to continue their emotional reunion, and finds Rumpelstiltskin staring at her instead. He reminds her of their deal. Either she says his name or gives him her child. Naturally, she runs. Meanwhile, Shelley's friend just happens to have a fairy tale book that explains everything they need to know about Rumpelstiltskin. The rest of the movie is basically one long chase sequence with Rumpelstiltskin constantly dying, but somehow never actually dying. At the one point he even rips off his own head just to kill a cop. But of course, the other police officers don't believe the story. Eventually, Rumpelstiltskin captures the baby and prepares for a ritual on a creepy graveyard altar. But just in time, Shelley and her friend randomly find an old woman in the backseat of their stolen car, who just so happens to be the same antique dealer from earlier. She shares the real way to kill Rumpelstiltskin: straw and fire. Unfortunately, the antique dealer immediately gets killed because of course she does, and burning him with a straw doesn't work, so Shelley finally just says his name 3 times, which she has known since the beginning of the movie. Rumpelstiltskin turns back into the fossilized tart, and the film ends with a new family unknowingly taking him to home. Pro tip: give this video a like so you can quickly find Rumpelstiltskin's name if you ever need it. The Giver. IMDb rating 4.9. The evil corporation Kronos is up to some shady business using alien technology to create zoonoids, mutant humans who can transform into monsters. One of their scientists, Dr. Tetsu Sigawa, realizes this is a terrible idea, so he steals the Giver unit, a super-powered exosuit that can turn its user into a bio-cybernetic warrior, and plans to hand it over to CIA agent Luke Skywalker. Unfortunately, Kronos finds the scientist first and kills him, thinking they have retrieved the stolen tech. But plot twist, he actually tricked them by handing over a random toaster instead. The real Giver unit ends up in a dumpster where it's accidentally found by our protagonist Sean. Sean has no idea what he stumbled upon, but takes the wired seashell gadget home anyway. Later, while his moped breaks down, he gets jumped by a gang of thugs in yellow bandanas. During the fight, he falls face first onto the Giver unit, which apparently is the activation method. Suddenly, he transforms into an unstoppable armored warrior. Sean realizes that he has somehow changed, not when bullets start flying away from him, but only when he sees his reflection in a trash can. The zoonoids try to kidnap Sean's girlfriend when he's off buying snacks. A fight breaks out, and the villains discover the Giver's biggest weakness, the giant glowing jewel on his forehead, which is impossible to miss. Later, at the Kronos HQ, the evil scientists admit they have no idea how the suit works, but Sean's girlfriend kicks one of them into the nuts, and the Giver jewel accidentally lands in Zoonoid's mouth, which somehow resurrects Sean. He murders everyone, including the final boss, the Zoonoid, who transforms into a giant mutant deer. In the end, everything works out, except Luke Skywalker, who in a tragic twist gets turned into the human-lobster hybrid. Dracula 3000, IMDb rating 2.1. The year is 3000, a crew of space salvagers stumbles upon a long-lost spaceship that looks suspiciously like a Soviet-era submarine. The team consists of all the classic horror movie tropes: the handsome hero, the sexy girl, the tech geek, the muscle guy, and the love triangle. Oh, and for some reason, they also brought along a stoner. While searching for illegal substances, the stoner opens a coffin, cuts himself, and accidentally awakens Count Dracula, who, despite being in the year 3000, is still rocking his classical cape and tuxedo. Meanwhile, someone detached their escape ship, standing them on board with Dracula. Slowly, one by one, the vampire converts the crew into his undead army, while the survivors frantically search for a way to stop him. After googling some vampire lore on the ship's old Soviet computer, they learn that the vampires can be killed with wooden objects and the sunlight. So they turn ship towards the sun, but later they kill the tech geek, the only one who was able to operate this ship. Additional plot twists include the captain's last name is Van Helsing, so of course Dracula has a personal vendetta against him. Dracula can be fatally injured if you slam a door on his hand. The sexy girl turns out to be a robot, but not just any robot, she's a retired pleasure droid. Since there is nothing left to do, she offers herself to the last surviving crew member to pass the time before they fire her death. And that's how the movie ends. Ice Spiders, IMDb rating 3.2. Near ski resort, a top secret lab is conducting experiments with genetically engineered giant spiders, apparently to create ultra-strong webbing for industrial use. However, one of the scientists gets impatient and accelerates their growth, leading to the spiders eating all the lab stuff and escaping into the mountains. The spiders first feast on hunters, then start attacking skiers. The locals take shelter in a lodge, while the military tries to contain the situation, but they fail miserably. So they turn to the only man who can help, a former skiing champion. Using his expert slalom skills, the ex-champ lures the spiders into a military trap. At the last minute, some high-ranking government official shows up and claims that a hallucinogenic gas leak has caused everyone to imagine the spiders. Expect zero logic, dumb deaths, and the insane mix of skiing and horror.